Um, so the thing about uh, certain aspects of our vision stories is that we need to be able to counter some of where we expect we'll probably face some resistance. Um, and you did by, talking about you already now having the strength to enjoy, or at least not dread the workout that's coming up. Um, and Adina, like you had pulled in your visions, you did the same exact thing, around um, around nutrition, and having worked out any, real feelings around food, because that is something that could easily get in the way of working towards our health visions. So, regardless of you having a vision that incorporates some very direct life related things, because, for example, um, as you noticed from my vision story, I tied my body into my work. I could easily use my health vision story as my business vision story as well. I would probably tweak it some, but I could easily do that. Um, we've got to be able to bring to light where we might see resistance because of the rest of this work that we're doing here in Vision Review. It will help us to come up with what our plans are going to look like, what our strategies are going to look like. So, part three of our vision review is anchoring our vision story um, to our first quarter here. And when we do that, we're taking a look at our language in our vision story and seeing if there are certain patterns that show up. Um, you know, and Angela, once I go off record from this segment, I'll actually go ahead and read you what my health vision story is because you've already heard my full vision story um, at the retreat. You, for the sake of you and others listening, Adina, my anchor statement for my full vision story is 2026 designed by me, which leads very well into center stage health my way. Um, but the purpose of having the anchor is because we're not always going to have our vision story directly in front of us unless we like literally put it on online, like in Google Drive for ourselves, and we can just literally open it up anytime we want, which I highly recommend doing. Because the more we can keep our vision story in front of us, the more we're going to experience the kinds of thoughts and feelings that we need to be able to experience to move us forward, even if those thoughts and feelings are resistance based. If they're resistance based, we know it when we feel it. We know it when we think it. That puts us in a position to figure out what we need to do to counter it, right? And again, we're a little village here. This does not need to be just us in our own little bubble. Anchoring the vision story lets us have something else that's right in front of us, wherever we might put it. We could put it on our wallpaper on the desktop. We could literally write it on a sticky note and put it on the PC. Um, we could write it on the mirror in our bathroom. I've done that before. Not even kidding. I remember when I was still living in Virginia, there was a quote I really, really liked, took it, and tailored it in my words and added on to it. And I wrote that in Sharpie on my mirror. And there was an occasion where my dad had visited. I think it was actually when he was helping me move my stuff up to Pennsylvania, like a couple weeks ahead of when I moved. But he saw my quote on the mirror and he's like, "Oh, I like that. Where did you find that?" And I'm like, "Well, half of it's somebody else's and the other half's mine." You're going to put it somewhere. And I highly recommend if you're in a journaling habit to journal with it as well. Um, Ange, I think I've mentioned to you before, I know Adina knows this, but I have multiple journals. I've got my main one that I'm in literally every day. And then I've got ones like this is the one I actually use for working on my health vision itself. And I will take notes in it throughout the year, little notes, just about anything that I might kind of be sticky around and want to bring into my main journal. Um, but that's part three is anchoring our vision story. And a portion of that is going to come from the anchor statement itself, and a portion of it is going to come from what we're doing with that. We want to put that wherever we can get it. We also want to make a plan right now for returning to our vision story routinely. Now, I know, Ange, you and I have years of experience doing this process, but I'll bet you as well as me, like, there have been plenty of times where we're like, oh, it's been a whole quarter and I didn't dive into my vision story, like reread it or listen to it or anything more than like twice this quarter, and probably didn't make as many moves on it as we might have. Yep. Um, Owning it's part of the process.
What? Never. Hear the sarcasm in my voice.
Yeah. Um, but so in addition to having like the legitimate anchor statement, this is part of having what the quarter ahead looks like, having a plan for revisiting our vision story. Um, our performance coach recommends, weekly for that. Definitely designating a time when we, you know, would genuinely really have it. But diving into it even more often if that's what it's going to take to help you move on it. So part four then is what the rest of our process is going to look like for the quarter. This is the inspiration statements, the things that we can pull from our story, whether it's one, two, or three specific parts that would lead to that specific vision. So if it's a vision around your health and fitness or your health and your wellness, however you want to think on it, you could talk about fitness, you could talk about nutrition, you could talk about your mental health or social health or environmental health. What's going on immediately around you. There are a lot of reasons to create, even if you have a larger whole life vision story, there are reasons to create a vision around your health specifically, even if it's just a little mini vision, and even pulling just one inspiration statement. Because honestly, let's take the example from the whole life vision, because we know both Ange and I do that. You could use your right now inspiration statement for your fitness as your anchor statement for your health vision and write out a health vision from that, like a health vision story from that. If you do the whole life vision story, you could use the um you could use the fitness or health-based inspiration statement from your whole life story or whole life vision story and break apart what the pieces of it need to look like and create inspiration statements for your fitness or your nutrition or your lifestyle or your environment or whatever it is that's going to help you realize that inspiration statement or, you know, conversely, anchor statement sooner. There are a lot of ways that this can be done. Me, I like creating a smaller vision, like a smaller story around each of those aspects of my life because I feel like they add some more structure for me. I know that's not necessarily going to be the same for everyone, and I know not everyone is going to need to do that. But we both know how much Carrie's got to be in her head. And the likelihood is that while yeah, she's guiding herself through the year on her whole vision statement or whole vision story, she's probably actually also got a couple of teeny ones here and there that she's created real quick around like, you know, the identities she needs to step into to realize that whole life vision. Um, so the inspiration statements, again, they can be around whichever aspects of your health and wellness and fitness that you think need to come first this year. That's where I would focus right now, creating an inspiration statement or two or three around the things that matter most up front. Any questions on that portion so far? Okay. You can drop them in chat if needed or come off mute. What I'm going to do now is we'll go straight into the final step. Um, take notes on it as you want. Ange knows this one pretty well. We've talked about those pieces and we've acted on those pieces even with each other around our whole life vision. But the fifth step is what are we doing, you know, with our daily process, and how are we working right now in quarter one to make sure that we're on track for our vision for the end of the year. So you're going to take your inspiration statements and you are going to create a list of action steps, things that you can do in the next couple weeks, or very simply by the end of the first quarter that move your vision forward. It's not a to-do list. It's, you know, not a to-be list. It is literally even the littlest thing that's going to move your vision along. So if it's time for new workout shoes, Nick and I have been talking, you know, off and on about, ooh, do we should go ahead and get designated lifting shoes because we keep lifting in the shoes that are designed for running, and that's a lifting is hard on those shoes. Um, you know, and so your an action step could be literally buy new shoes. Um, do you need to get a new journal? You know, I think my main journal, I've got a good number of pages left, but I know I'm going to be needing to get one probably sometime in this quarter. I could see that happening. Um, do you need to make sure you're scheduling your workouts? Do you need to sit down with your calendar? Sitting down with your calendar could be an action step. Do you need to talk with a family member about food, like create a designated meal plan or meal prep system. There was one year where one of my steps was just simply simplify meal plan. Bring it down to the bare essentials, even if it bored me to tears to eat. Just simply so that I didn't feel like I was being overwhelmed by, making certain moves on nutrition. And then of course, last year, come the fall, it became apparent to me, oh yeah, I'm dealing with systemic inflammation. This isn't just simply I need to simplify my meal plan. This is I need to alter drastically what I'm actually ingesting right now so that my system gets a break. And then I can move on with with nutritional life. Um, and part of your action steps could be simply, you know, plan when to revisit Vision Story. That can also be there. So before we cut recording, are there certain inspiration statements that stand out for you? Is there an anchor statement that stands out for you around your health vision? And are there any questions that you have that I can help you with?
For the anchor statement, I mean the main word that links to my vision story is energized. Is that enough of an anchor statement? I can't really ask you that because you it has to be with like what helps me think of the vision story.
Oh, you
But,
can. You can ask me. We can play around with it. We can also take like 15 minutes one day and play around with it a little more too.
mhm.
But if energized really stands out to you, is that direct imagery for you? If can you sit here and imagine what you really feel like energized?
I don't think that it'll be visceral enough.
Okay. Then I think it's not necessarily good just on its own.
Hmm.
Um,
You know, it should be part of the story.
if there is something more to the image,
Hmm.
for example, and don't use this example unless it actually sits right with you. Um, so one of the things that we tend to do when we write our whole life vision story is include like the year, because sometimes just including the year and things that rhyme with it might help. 2026 is a little challenging on that. Outside of words like fix, and who wants to sit and actually like fix a thing. Um, but you could create something around like Energizer Bunny or an identity that you might sit with. I like that also. And 2026 fully energized. If anything around energized actually feels right, it's worth exploring and kind of pulling the imagery together. Like, what does this feel like? What does this look like? Because again, like with 2026 fully energized, I knew you would. Um, the the image there is kind of what you make of it. Like if you think fully energized, what do you feel from that? Does that give you the imagery of, you enjoying the runs, the stamina, the strength, does that provoke the right imagery? And again, if not, we can definitely take like, like a breakout room in the zone or something
Mhm.
to kind of play around with it some.
When I attach an image to it, there's sunlight. Um, or like the another word is like awake or
Mhm.
but maybe I just have to play around with it. I don't know. Mm. Yeah, I was trying to think if there's like a character or that kind of image. I was also thinking
Hmm.
Tigger, but like it didn't really capture the feeling of what I was going for.
Well, yeah, your imagery was not around bouncy,
Right.
bouncy, fun, fun, fun,
And
fun, fun.
I'm not
It
looking
was.
for energetic. I'm looking for
Mhm.
energized.
So another thing to look at what you were using as your transitions and your experience, your
Hmm.
actual, you know, event and time frame, and see if there's something in there that looks or sounds right.
Hmm.
Because again, or your notes from when you were doing your actual vision review and you listed out, if you did, what you want, and see if anything stands out from there that really partners well from the language of your vision story. Because like you heard with mine, I actually had worked from the image of what stage would I take center stage on? If I made my body center stage and put my health up front, what stage would I have put myself on and what experience would I build out from there? And then that created the vision story itself for me. But I did that partly because I also knew that one of my goals in business this year is getting myself in front of other people's audiences more. So speaking at community events, speaking at like library events, presenting in networking groups, different stages. So that one wasn't hard for me to kind of piece out a little more. And like I said, when I was listing out what do I want for my health and wellness, I hit on more strength and stamina. I hit on um, real sustainable lasting weight loss, the effort there that's actually going to move my body the direction that it should be able to go now that I know what my body needs from me regarding the inflammation I'd have been experiencing. Um, so I had a segue from other things that I could lean on and experiment with and imagine, and it felt good. Some of the imagery that stood out to me from your vision story included things like you pulling the brown eyeliner, you having decided on that specific color. So maybe your 2026 health vision is around decision, or what was your anchor statement from this past year?
From strength to strength.
That's right. Okay. Where's the advancement on this year from there?
Advancement of this year from
Yeah,
there.
where does the imagery for you and your vision story for this year look different than it did in terms of kind of how you feel your health played the role
Hmm.
in leading to the image? What are some of the differences that might stand out?
I think last year, I mean, what I tried to, I think, embody, put it this way, embody more in this year's vision story was more um, movement and activity connected to that, feeling that energy. Last year vision story was just sitting, reflecting,
Hmm.
um, and I think last year was more on recognizing the strengths,
Hmm.
and this year is more actually like using the strengths and playing them out.
Okay.
Last year was building the strengths, and this year is using them.
Hmm. Okay. And I remember you mentioned kind of an awakening as well in there.
Hmm.
Hmm. In addition to energized, what other words, in addition to energized and awakened, what other words stand out for you? Because I like awakened. but is it in the right direction of the rest of the imagery in your vision story?
Hmm. I mean, it's definitely not a word that, I mean, it carries meaning, but it's not the feeling that I'm,
Hmm.
trying to
Yeah,
reach there. What other words?
or feelings.
Hmm.
Yeah. Or if you reread it, what overarching feeling do you get from it? For me last year was satisfaction, and I led with that. Or actually, I think it would be better to say I actually had a combination of leading m writing my vision story from a sense of satisfaction, but while I was writing my vision story, that became more pronounced. And it was like, oh yeah, this is satisfying. I am
Hmm.
feeling satisfied with this.
I'm playing with either confident or decisive. Um, there's like there's another word that's like lurking there that it's not coming to mind, but not momentum.
Mhm.
Um,
Anything standing out to you, Angela, that you would put in the comments over here in the chat or off mute for?
I was gonna say, I don't know if I have anything else specific right now, but I guess my one kind of thing is too of like if energize is the word that is speaking to you right now,
Hmm.
I think it's also fine to just like go with that for now and let that kind of, muse for you over the next week or so.
It's
Don't
also a
feel
good
like you
point.
have to decide on it right now. You can never change it. Like, because I know, that's been my case for in previous years and stuff of like, it comes to you over time or like you can even journal on it, so just
mm, yeah, that's
don't
helpful.
Yep.
Thank
you
you.
know you
Yep. She's
don't feel like
absolutely
you're
right.
not doing it right if you don't have something decided today, or if you pick something right now and then decide that was a dumb idea, I'm going to change that.
Nope. She's absolutely right. Sit with your vision story a little longer. There might even be ways you expand on it a little bit if you want. Um, and just sit in the energy that is the vision story itself. That might actually be one of the best tools you've got for being able to kind of feel out what sounds right to you. I don't hate Angela's suggestion of 2026 fully energized, by the way.
Hmm.
Um, but there might be other things to play with, or it might take sitting with the word energized or energy and feeling out if it feels good for you.
Yeah.
Don't spend a month on that. But maybe sleep on it over the weekend.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea at all.
Yeah, I'm definitely clear on the three areas that I want to work on.
Hmm.
So
What do
it's
you
more
think
just
they'll be?
the um what's it called? The viewpoint, the mental attitude toward food,
Hmm.
um, sleep, and then either the stamina or whatever else needs to happen to enable me to like the image of me being able to go running is very,
Hmm.
very strong.
Okay.
So whatever needs to happen in order to allow that in a healthy way would be like
Hmm.
another focus area.
Okay, and I know you said, shoes, you need ones with ankle support.
That'd be helpful.
Um, Out of curiosity, how often are you doing uh the body combat classes and stuff at this point? Twice a week?
1 to 2 times a week. Yeah, it depends
Okay.
on the week.
Yeah,
But
that'd still be
yeah.
the most I do that particular style
Hmm.
because that's hard on ankles.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Trust the college soccer player here. that you do the same kinds of abuse to your ankles long enough and you start wearing tape by your fourth year. And it takes 5 years into actual adulthood past college for you to have the ankle strength again.
Uh, yeah. Yeah, there were a few times this year when I had to like modify or totally change the workout I was gonna do because ankles acted up. So yeah.
Yep, that's part of the recovery process. I like that. And sleep for you because of sleep itself. You're not talking about recovery in general.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay. How do you feel?
I feel excited to get it done and to go through
Hmm.
the process of doing it. Um, the I felt as I was writing the idea of like not being exhausted at 7 a.m., that felt like a little bit entering fantasy realm. So I'm
It's a
curious to
little
see.
stretchy. Sure.
I
It's
felt curious to
perfectly
see how
fine.
close I would actually get to it. But also like, yeah, already thinking like some of the action steps that I would need to do in order to get that, yeah, figured out.
Yeah. Yep. Both of you feel free to message me at any point. If there's something that, again, feels a little sticky or you want to be able to chat through, um, on the health vision side of things. But good job.
Thank you.
And pretty cool that you have a good bit of that fleshed out already because it's not necessarily easy to do this work in a short time. Um, being that it's one aspect of life and it can involve other aspects of life. Um, that can make it, a little challenging sometimes. So good. Good job. Yeah, I'm gonna need to sit and really think through what my inspiration statements will be around the health vision. Um, because my inspiration statement around fitness and health, right now with quarter one for my overall life vision is rise and grind. We actually have a clock in our living room that says that on it, just the nice like dial clock. So it's the first thing you see if you exit the bedroom. It's that clock. Um, not if you exit this room. It's actually on the over overhead of the um doorway. But yeah, so rise and grind makes sense because the fitness stuff's going to need to come first. There's an awful lot that I'm doing with networking lately. And that means that if I'm choosing to exercise later, there's almost zero consistent time I'd be doing it. I mean, like, I could do it like around lunch, or I could do it around 3, or I could do it at 5, or I could do it at 9 p.m. And it's just, yeah, there's no guaranteed consistency if it's not going to be the first thing I do. So that's why it is for my overall. But I know that with the particular goals that I have, nutrition's going to play a big role in that right now. I need to make sure that I'm building off of the um what I discovered while putting myself through that elimination diet and how my body started responding, as I moved things back in. Lo and behold, it probably would be a good idea for me to go gluten-free for the most part. I'm not gluten intolerant. I think my body's like gluten, huh? Who knows how we're gonna do with it right now? Makes me feel kind of sludgy. Just everything sits and just exists, and I'm like, oof. But that being said, message me if you need anything. I will get all of these uploaded into the Facebook group and probably end up emailing out the actual links as well for the videos so that you guys have that in a couple places. And then we will revisit as needed throughout the year, quarterly, and in messaging and in the group. Ange wanted to say anything signing off? You can also type in no in the chat
Nope,
if you
I'm
want.
good. Trying to not get covered in chili.
Nick, how do you feel about getting covered in chili? Ooh. Sounds exciting. Um,
Can we have a deadline of some sort, or like to like check in of when we've finished doing the inspo statements and the action steps?
oh, absolutely. I would say you would want to do that within this next couple weeks. Easy.
Okay.
Don't let it linger too long. And the action steps focus on legitimately your next steps. Don't sit there, write an action step, and then say, oh, and then because I've done that, I'll do this, 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 this. No, start with the first ones that make the most sense. Things like possibly buying the new shoes or, um, sitting down and scheduling out when you're going to do your workouts, stuff like that.
Jokes.
Yep. And make sure your action statements start or action steps start with an actual action word. If it needs to be a verb, if it's not a verb, it's a state of being, and we can't guarantee that, that we're going to do that. Alrighty. Have a good one, and I will
Thank you.
catch you guys later.